Top 5 ways of fixing your broken metabolism. I'm Dr. Rawat, a physician who studied nutrition at Harvard and founded website healthgroupcoaching.com, where I coach clients in a Zoom group setting on how to slow aging, reverse disease, and optimize weight. My last video on YouTube was talking about the top 10 fundamentals of weight loss. The title of the video is Ozempic is not magic. But despite of doing everything that they're asked to do, I do get clients who complain to me that their metabolism is slow. No matter what they do, they can't lose weight. They see other people who appear to maintain an ideal weight with little to no effort at all. And on the other hand, they feel that even if they sniff food, that makes them gain weight. So if it is indeed the case that you have a slow metabolism, what is the way out? How would you fix that? That's what we'll be discussing in this video. I'd like to start by debunking some common myths around metabolism. There have been various studies on metabolism, on subjects ranging from newborns to elderly clients till death. And metabolism across a population is surprisingly stable, depending upon hormonal factors like adolescence, menopause, and activity levels. Metabolism across a population stays fairly consistent and fairly predictable. To say that one has a slow metabolism is a bit of a myth. Those people think that they are burning fewer calories, that they are storing more energy than would be otherwise. But to be fair, when studies have been done, it has in fact been shown that people who are obese will often have a faster metabolism. Just take the heart rate as an example. The heart rate of a person who is in more good condition, who is more fit, would be slower than the heart rate of a person who is deconditioned, who is obese and overweight. And so by virtue of just measuring heart rate and using that as a marker of your basal metabolic rate, the person who is deconditioned and overweight in fact has a faster metabolism. And this would be the case because of larger body mass, the body does have to expend more energy to move that person, to circulate nutrients and oxygen within that person. And so in fact, the person doesn't have a slower metabolism, rather a slightly faster metabolism. There are medical conditions, of course, which can lead to slow metabolism. The most common and important one being low thyroid levels or hypothyroidism. The causes for this can range from nutritional, as with goiter, as well as autoimmune, as with autoimmune thyroiditis. It is important, if you're worried about your metabolism, particularly if you have weight gain, dry skin, constipation, hair loss, hair thinning, that you should get your thyroid function tests done with your physician. But in the absence of a thyroid disorder, there isn't really any other good medical reason that you should have a so-called slow metabolism. Many of us reminisce and benchmark our adolescent years as the time when we had a perfect metabolism and everything went downhill from there onwards. But bear in mind that during adolescence you are growing. Your body is actively growing, so the calorific requirement of your body is greatly increased. Your body requires energy or calories not just for its daily utilization but also for the purpose of growing. And so that is an exaggerated calorific requirement. Once the growth phase is done, then you get to a more normal level of calorific requirement. And hence, compared to adolescence, your metabolism will feel slower once you get into your mid-20s, late 20s, and into your 30s. Many people will say that once they got into their 30s and 40s, their metabolism went to pop, it really got messed up. They would just gain weight by sniffing at food. But in reality, what's happening is these are times when you are generally working really hard, you're trying to build a career for yourself, you're probably lacking sleep, you're probably suffering from stress, you are overworking, you're probably indulging with more high calorific density fast foods and junk foods, and you are less active, you are engaging in less exercise, in less bodybuilding, and it is but natural that you would start gaining weight during that transition of life. This is something that as a physician with over 25 years of experience, I see day in and day out at my clinic. So what's really happening here isn't so much that your metabolism has gone awry. It's the fact that your lifestyle and your dietary factors have changed. People then in their 50s, 60s, and 70s also complain about the metabolism slowing down. But again, data shows that in this age group, people become increasingly inactive, more sedentary. They don't engage with sports or exercise with the kind of rigor that they used to when they were younger. They also lose muscle mass, and a combination of all of these things would lead to their metabolism slowing down. So metabolism actually stays relatively stable apart from the hormonal fluctuations you would expect with adolescence and menopause. Apart from that, most of the variation in metabolism is related to your activity levels and your amount of muscle mass. So what are the top 5 ways of fixing your broken metabolism? Of course, the caveat is that if you're worried about your metabolism, if you are suffering from weight gain, hair loss, hair thinning, skin drying, constipation, etc., start by getting a thyroid function test done with your family physician. You may also have other conditions such as vitamin deficiencies, anemia, etc., which may need to be corrected first to make your body function in an optimal way, and then you need to then employ these 5 steps to improve your metabolism. The first way of improving your metabolism is to increase your muscle mass through resistance training and increased intake of heart-healthy proteins. It is never too late to start building muscle. Studies have shown that even clients in nursing homes in their 90s through a program of resistance training are able to increase their muscle mass. Muscles are metabolically active in your body. Whether your body requires 2000 kilocalories or 3000 or above kilocalories for sustenance, the difference is primarily through the amount of muscle. So if you lose weight and you don't want to gain that weight back, the biggest buffer you have, the insurance policy you have towards not gaining the weight back, is through having adequate muscle mass. Now, as you know, I'm a 46-year-old physician who coaches on anti-aging. And talking about protein intake in the context of anti-aging can be a bit of a tricky topic. This is because there have been many population-level studies demonstrating that excessive intake of protein can be associated with increased mortality and morbidity, particularly with heart disease and cancer. It has been postulated that this could be related to the growth hormone effects that these have on your body. Now, as you know, I studied nutrition at Harvard and also have done a lot of my own research, and my own personal view or opinion on this matter is that the healthiest proteins from a health point of view are primarily plant proteins as well as marine and non-mammalian proteins. So that could also include some amount of eggs and lean, low-fat poultry. Where I see the problem is when we obtain our protein from mammalian sources. So these would be red meats like beef, goat, lamb, pork. Because of the presence of inflammatory mammalian proteins as well as increased levels of saturated or bad fat, which can also increase the amount of inflammation and atherosclerosis, which leads to heart disease. I will link below blogs I've written on how to increase muscle mass, and you'll notice that the protein shakes or powders which I recommend are plant protein based. While these are less anabolic and so less efficient than whey protein, for example, I feel that these are safer in the long term, will lead to less inflammation, and will likely lead to better healing in the long term as well. No wonder the best anti-aging examples in the sports world, such as Novak Djokovic at age 37 and LeBron James at age 40 plus, are primarily using plant-based proteins for their protein intake. Some people are unsure about the value of plant proteins through a powder form in your morning smoothie. And the value to this is that it can be difficult to get protein in its original form. If you're having it with meat, then you will invariably be getting fat along with the protein. And if you're getting it with plant sources, you'll invariably be getting carbohydrate or sugar with the protein. So what that does is it dilutes the protein to calorie ratio of that, and getting it through a powder in your smoothie gives you the most efficient protein to calorie ratio. Personally, I go to the gym for a resistance training workout 3 days a week, and on those days with my early morning smoothie, which consists of soya milk with chia seeds, frozen fruits from Costco, kefir, which is a probiotic dairy drink, and other nuts, seeds, etc. I also add a protein powder, which will be listed in the description below. And I particularly like this plant-based protein powder because it also contains probiotics, vitamins, minerals, and other kinds of green superfoods. Of course, I do add spinach leaves and other kinds of greens to the smoothie as well. Along with the smoothie, I also take my multivitamin, my omega-3, and hyaluronic acid. On the other 4 days that I'm doing cardio, primarily playing tennis with my son, I would, instead of protein, have collagen protein, and that'll be a topic for another video. That's because I'm 46 years old and I'm trying to preserve my skin and also preserve my other soft connective tissues, including ligaments, tendons, bones, etc. But otherwise, the best dietary sources of protein would be soybean, tofu, beans, lentils and legumes, fish, eggs, and lean, low-fat poultry such as chicken, turkey, and duck. Regarding exercise, there are various ways of doing this. Personally, I go to the gym 3 days a week. People who don't have time for the gym could also do exercise snacks during the day, but it's important to get connected with a personal trainer. On my coaching program on healthgroupcoaching.com, one of the 8 sessions is on resistance training, but the basics are using compound exercises to stimulate various muscle groups. It is important to keep track of the amount of sets and reps that you're doing, the amount of weights that you're lifting, and aiming for a progressive overload, aiming for doing better than last time, pushing yourself to become stronger over time. The second way of fixing your broken metabolism is to increase your NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis. Walk more steps. Aim for 10 to 20,000 steps per day. When I initially interview my clients on weight loss and ask them how they plan to lose weight, almost all of them will reply that they would plan to run on the treadmill for 20 minutes in the evening. And what I often say to them is that you'll probably burn about 100 calories, which you'll probably consume back with that glass of orange juice you'll be having after. Now, of course, if you watched my previous video on the 10 fundamentals of weight loss titled Ozempic is not magic, you will not be drinking that orange juice because you will not be consuming liquid calories. That is one of those 10 rules of not gaining weight. But in any case, the point is that doing short bursts of cardio has a modest effect on weight loss. It is not going to be the primary driver of weight loss, but a much bigger driver for your metabolism is to be more active overall. To be the person who's parking your car far away from the supermarket so you can walk those extra steps, being that person who's taking the stairs instead of taking the lift, being that person in the house who doesn't get other people to bring your stuff to you. Instead, you get up from your chair, you walk up and get your things yourself. Not just that, when other people need stuff, you get up and get it for them as well. It's your overall activity levels, even the way that I am gesturing and moving my hands right now talking to you. All of these things will have an effect on your overall metabolism. If instead you are a couch potato, you're spending hours on end sitting on a sofa with your feet up watching Netflix or scrolling through TikTok, then your metabolism will slow down as an effect of that. So increasing NEAT or non-exercise activity thermogenesis is crucial for speeding up your metabolism, and I would highly recommend to people on my program to get a Fitbit or get an Apple Watch or some kind of tracker and aim for 10 to 20,000 steps per day. The third way of stimulating your slow metabolism is to consider high intensity interval training. As we discussed in the previous section, your metabolism will be determined by the signals that you give to your body. If your body gets a signal that you're planning to sit on a couch for 3 hours watching Netflix, then the metabolism does not need to be speeded up. It'll be slow. Equally, there is also evidence that metabolism can be slowed down by excessive periods of stress. So chronic stress, even people who do long distance running can in fact paradoxically have a slower metabolism, even though they lose a lot of weight because they burn a lot of calories. And even people who do extensively long periods of intermittent fasting can also have a slower metabolism, again, even though they paradoxically lose weight because they burn a lot of calories, because your body goes into starvation mode. It's important to not go into starvation mode, but equally be able to stimulate your metabolism to an extent that you start burning more calories. And high intensity interval training, where typically you would have high intensity training where you would achieve a high heart rate. Of course, you have to speak to your physician if you have underlying medical problems to find out what kind of heart rate would be safe for you, and then take a period of rest and then do it again. Doing a HIIT workout can stimulate your metabolism to become faster. The fourth way of improving your metabolism is by improving the diversity of your gut microbiome. And this would be primarily by increasing the amount of fermented foods, probiotics, and plant-based fibers and proteins. On my coaching sessions at healthgroupcoaching.com, we have a 1 hour separate session on gut microbiome. The gut microbiome is the over 100 trillion bacteria which live in your gut. They can be considered as a separate organ and have a significant effect on your metabolism. In fact, many of your hormones which we associate with weight loss, such as GLP-1, glucagon-like peptide 1, GIP, peptide YY, these are all hormones which are being mimicked or copied by weight loss drugs like Ozempic, Wegovy, Mounjaro. These are produced by the bacteria in your gut, by your gut microbiome. So if you feed your bacteria, then you will naturally start producing more of these hormones. So how do you do that? Well, you need to increase the amount of fiber in your diet because that is primarily what they feed off. You also need to increase the amount of plant proteins in your diet because they break down both the fiber and the proteins into short chain fatty acids like propionate, lactate, which is then used to produce these beneficial hormones, which are important not just for our metabolism, but even for our mood. Painkiller hormones like GABA, which is copied by gabapentin, as well as mood stabilizing hormones like serotonin, which is copied with antidepressants like Prozac, are produced by your gut microbiome. Not to mention, the hormones for weight loss like Ozempic, Mounjaro, Wegovy are also produced naturally by your gut microbiome. So increasing your fiber intake, increasing fermented food intake, that could be natural homemade yogurt, natural homemade pickles. You can also get market yogurt with probiotics. Pickles, however, do not have probiotics because they have been irradiated. Also other foods like paneer, soft cottage cheeses, kefir, kombucha, sauerkraut, tempeh, miso, even Rye sourdough bread has more probiotic qualities as well as fiber. So choosing foods with increased fermentation and fiber will benefit your gut microbiome. Also more plant proteins, as we discussed earlier, including soybean, tofu, pulses, legumes, lentils, beans will help your gut microbiome. If you feel that your metabolism is really damaged and cannot be fixed no matter what, you've already tried all of these things, then one more thing to consider would be probiotics themselves. I will link below in the description a blog I've written about those probiotics which do have some evidence to help with weight loss as well as other metabolic issues such as high cholesterol and fatty liver. So do have a look at that blog, and there are some recommendations within the blog as well. Bear in mind, however, that most of the research that has been done on these probiotics was conducted by the companies themselves. So there is a natural inherent risk of bias. So I would reserve that to those people who are the most desperate and who feel they've already tried all of these things and despite of that, they cannot fix their metabolism. There is one more lifestyle change which has been shown to improve the diversity of your gut microbiome, and that incidentally is number 5 on our list today. The 5th way of improving your metabolism is to do some degree of intermittent fasting, but mild intermittent fasting. I would say ranging from 14 hours to a maximum of 18 hours per day. And this should probably be 5 to 6 days a week. It doesn't have to be every single day of the week. It has been shown that early time-restricted feeding and time-restricted feeding improves your metabolism by increasing your epinephrine, adrenaline, and fight or fright kind of stimulatory hormones within your body. This is true, of course, with resistance training and high-intensity interval training as well. This all really comes down to the concept of hormesis. Our body is always trying to maintain a certain balance or homeostasis. When we give our body some kind of a challenge, this could be in the form of exercise or in the form of intermittent fasting, then your body needs to react. Initially, your blood pressure might go up a bit, your sugar might go up a bit. However, in the baseline, once it settles down, your blood pressure will be better, your sugar will be better, you will have less inflammation, your insulin resistance will reduce. So putting your body through some degree of transient stress has an improving effect on your metabolism. It is important, however, that you don't overdo it. As I discussed previously, prolonged fasts as well as prolonged stress or even prolonged exercise can have negative hormonal and metabolic effects. So when this is a transient stress, that is definitely a beneficial thing, and that's what we describe as hormesis. So to recap, the top 5 ways of fixing your slow metabolism, and like I said before, in the absence of a medical problem, in the absence of having low thyroid levels, for example, in the absence of being anemic or having low vitamin levels, those top 5 ways of fixing that slow metabolism that you have are to increase muscle mass through resistance training and heart-healthy protein intake, increase your non-exercise activity thermogenesis, aim for 10 to 20,000 steps a day, be more active during the day through high-intensity interval training, so bouts of high-intensity exercise followed by rest and then doing it again. This can be done in a gym. Even certain sports such as squash or tennis, when played at a sufficiently high level, can provide a form of exercise similar to high-intensity interval training. Improve your gut microbiome with more fermented foods, probiotics, plant fibers, and plant proteins. And also do some mild intermittent fasting. I recommend early time-restricted feeding, which is having most of the calories earlier in the day, avoiding eating late, and fasting from 14 to 18 hours per day, and I'd say about 5 to 6 days in a week. All of these things will work to improve your metabolism. I hope you found the video useful. Make sure you share it with a friend or family member who suffers from slow metabolism. If they haven't watched my previous video on the top 10 fundamentals of weight loss, which was titled Ozempic is not magic, make sure you watch that video first, because you can't really say that you have a so-called slow metabolism unless you've tried those 10 steps first for weight loss. I'm a physician with over 25 years of clinical experience. I studied nutrition at Harvard and founded the website healthgroupcoaching.com. On that website, I coach clients on how to slow aging, reverse disease, and optimize weight. If you'd be interested in joining me on that 8-session program over 4 weeks on Zoom in a group setting, then feel free to browse the website, click on subscribe if you would like to sign up on the program. The next batch will be in the month of September this year. If you would like to watch a video on how to lose weight, the top 10 fundamentals of weight loss, video titled Ozempic is not magic, then click on the link above. If you'd like to watch the video on how to slow the aging process, then click on the other video, and I'll see you there. Take care, everyone.